on the that started about a week ago. You now required to hear the disclaimer. Let me start the music. I'm going to go live. We're going to say hello to, let's see if we're getting ready to go on to Facebook. Come on, Facebook, go live. Nothing. Here we go. Meeting is now live stream. Let's wait. Preparing the live stream. As soon as we see us on Facebook, I will. It's waiting. It's waiting. I don't see it. Here we are. Okay, there we are. So let me start the music and let's get this party started.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Radio Red in the house. We have wait for all the music to go. Bye bye, music. Well, it was longer than I thought. There we go. Welcome. This is Read My Lips Radio, cool conversations with creatives. I've got a full house. First, I have to do a hello to everybody in the U.S. who is celebrating Memorial Day, as I am as an American, grateful for all the service people, any age, any stripe, any way they live, for defending our freedoms to speak, for defending our freedom to think, to be who we are, the freedom I have to broadcast my kind of radio show on Facebook and on Voice America. And thank you for all who have served, and especially for those who know people who have given their lives for our country. So Memorial Day. There you go. Now, Read My Lips, cool conversations. I've got three creatives. We're calling this show today The Power, the Empowerment of Female Writers. And I have one writer who wrote a memoir. You'll meet her in a minute. One who wrote a very, very sassy, naughty, a thriller, fiction, and one who wrote a book about cybersecurity, facts and figures about what we need to know. So we've got a little bit of everything. I call them all my empowering ladies. So ladies, why don't you all wave hello to our audience on Facebook? We're saying hello. We're not doing the show on Voice America because it is a holiday and the engineer is off, but this will be available as an audio program on demand on Voice America Empowerment Channel starting Wednesday, June 2nd. So let me just give a little background here before I do. The date today is May 31st. As you all know, it's the 151st day of the Gregorian calendar. Shout out to Greg, Gregory, Greggy, whatever his mother called him. We like your calendar very much. We have 214 days left in 2021. If you want to drink something special on New Year's Eve, what a year this is being so far. It's actually turned out pretty well as far as I can see, and everybody thinks so. Go get something ordered from your local liquor store, from your online liquor store. Go start making gin in the bathtub or Kahlua in the sink in the garage or in the still behind the house. I won't tell anybody, but you want to be ready because it's not that far away. 214 days. This is the 22nd Monday of 2021. Can you believe it's going this fast? The sign of the zodiac today is Gemini. The element is air. The ruler is Mercury. The lucky numbers, play these somewhere, 5, 7, 14, and 23. I like two of those numbers. And now let's do a quick, ladies. I haven't introduced you yet, but you have to help me. We're going to do a shout out. Hello to LLL. 1, 2, 3. Hello.
Hello.
L. That
L.
lovely lanky Laura Legs, my most loyal listener. You've all listened to the show and you know.
Yes.
And we're still taking up a phony baloney GoFundMe to move her to London. So it'll be lovely lanky Laura Legs in London because she's in Whitestone, New York. And it's a nice place, but not as interesting as London. And we have somebody in London and we will find, or near London, Cali, one of my guests. So let's go around the table and let me do introductions first. What an interesting panel we have here. So first up, we're going to be meeting Sandra Estok. She spells her last name E-S-T-O-K. She's got so many letters after her name. It's like a whole alphabet. MBA, GIAC-GSLC, CIPM. She's the founder of Way 2, the number 2 Protect, that's trademarked. And she is the author of the award-winning Happily Ever Cyber. Not happily ever after, happily ever cyber. Sandra Estok, just say hello and just tell us just a couple of seconds about what your book's about, and then we'll go around the table. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you so much, Red. This is phenomenal, and I'm so excited to be here with you and having this opportunity to share a different message, a different conversation. We usually don't associate happily ever with the word cyber, so I'm so happy that we're gonna bring a different conversation. So
Thank you. And you are creative in your book, and your book is a little bit of a memoir, Sandra. You come from Venezuela. Life wasn't easy. Life wasn't fun. You were the kid nobody wanted on their team, nobody wanted to play with. And you said to yourself, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to get an education. I'm going to learn to play sports. I'm going to make a new life for myself and my family. And you made it work. And then you became the second part of the story is look at who you are, a cybersecurity expert. So we're looking forward to hearing from you, to speaking with you, Sandra, about your whole story, your full story. So
yes,
thank you for your book. It's beautifully done. I very much was immersed in your story as well as the message you have. So thank you, Sandra. Now let's go to my second guest. She comes to us through the good graces of a former guest of mine, a very interesting man named Armando Rosamilia, who was on last year, I think. Armando's quite the guy, quite the character, quite the author. And he introduced me to Cali Bird. Cali is her first name, Bird. You all know how to spell that. She is the author of a debut novel. I can't wait to see if there's going to be a sequel called Tales of the Countess. Now, you never really learn who the Countess is, but she's quite an interesting lady, quite a businesswoman, very astute, very gorgeous, legs that could go for about 9
She
miles.
could rival.
She,
Oh,
she,
LLL.
oh yeah, oh that's true. And she knows how to wear a business suit and heels. She knows how to party. She knows how to stay at the best hotels. She is a business consultant, and the interesting thing is that she has handbags that talk and walk. So Callie says the book is like Sex in the City meets Toy Story. Callie Bird, say hello, and why don't you give us a brief
Hello.
introduction? Tell us where you are and tell us just a little more about your book. Callie, welcome.
So, hello, thank you so much for having me. So, I live in the United Kingdom. I'm about 40 miles north of London. Yeah, this is my first novel, and yes, there is a sequel. I'm writing it as we speak. I'm taking a bit of sabbatical from day job, software development, and writing a sequel. So there will be more. So Tales of the Countess. So it is obviously it's fiction, but it did come out of my single days. Louisa, I really related to your story, which we're going to hear about soon, because yeah, I was single until I was 39. I went around the whole thing of how do I have? I decided not to have children, but I went around the loop, which you know you took further than me, but I certainly considered
yes,
that. And so the book is about getting happy in yourself. It's a chick lit story. It's about sorting your life out and getting a bit more grounded, and then then you're in a good place for a man. And it features handbags. This is one that talk. Okay. So yeah, so the countesses, we never meet her, we never know her name. She's a businesswoman. It's modern day. It's actually set in the late 90s. And she calls them the accessories. They're various bags and a teddy bear that talk. So yeah, I call it Sex and the City meets Toy Story.
Well,
Really.
very well done. I have to tell everybody I designate time on Mondays to read all of my guest books. If I have 2 guests, 3, I want to remember, I want to retain. So I don't want to read them a week ago. I'm doing a radio show, my Technology Revolution show with women thriller writers. I haven't read their books yet. That's Wednesday morning. So Tuesday night will be a crash course in reading thrillers. But I read the books, and Callie, I'm very mad at you. I'm very upset with you
So
because
sorry.
you owe me an apology because your book is such a page turner. I could not put it down. I said, wait a minute. I read Sandra's, and now I have to have time designated for Louise Pateman, who I'm going to talk to in a second. And I couldn't put your book down. And it is hysterically, it's funny, it's cheeky, it's chic, it's very sexy. You introduce things in the first couple of pages that nobody puts in the first couple pages of a book. And I applaud you. We're going to find out more about your method for writing and how you plan this out, because I'm trying to write my own thriller novel right now. And I got as far as the setting the scene and who will eventually be killed, but I haven't gotten to that place yet in the book. I'm having so much fun setting it up. So maybe you'll give me some pointers. So
Yeah,
thank you, Callie
sure.
Bird, and give
Thank you.
Armando my best, please. Now let's go to Louisa Pateman. Louisa, so happy to have you on. Louisa is the author of a memoir. Even though Sandra has a little bit of memoir in hers, Louisa's is a memoir. It's single again and again and again. What do you do when life doesn't go to plan? And she embarked on a journey to become this is all in caps, ladies and guys, single mother by choice, capital S, capital M, capital C, at the age of 37. But what intrigued me, Louisa, her book is very well done. It reads like a novel. I lost count of all the men. I lost count of all the men in your life, the Dons and the Shermans. I probably made up a couple names in there. Very, very interesting. But she has a life plan. And the life plan number 1 starts out with find a suitable man by the age of 23, fall in love, be in a relationship for at least 2 years, get engaged, get married by the age of 26, have my first child at 27, my second child at 30, at 29, turn 30, live happily ever after, soulmate, the one, the right man. And that's number 1. I didn't get up to number 8, but number 7 is I had a 14% chance of conception at age 37, which would drop to 8% by age 39. Fall in love with my soulmate at the age of 36, get engaged for 6 months, get pregnant at 37, first child at 38, second child at 39, married at 40, happily ever after. And I understand there's a number 8. So Louisa, I'm putting you on speaker view. I love that. I don't want to offend you by saying the sense of humor, but there's a very nice human twist, almost like a plot twist, even though it's your memoir. So Louisa, welcome.
Yes.
Talk to us, please. Happy
Thank
to have
you, Red. Thank you, Red. And thank you for having me on it. It's lovely to be here. And hello, America. So look, I enjoyed writing my memoir and I had a lot of fun. And but yes, it is my life story. And I spent, I guess, 20 years trying to find my soulmate, chasing my happily ever after. And look, I had a lot of escapades and there was a lot of failed relationships. I guess I don't call them failed now. They were just relationships that ended. And they put me on different trajectories. And I ended up, moving around the world and having a great career, but I just couldn't find the one. And so look, I've got a lot of trials and tribulations and I've penned them in my memoir. And as Red said, I have gone on to become a single mother by choice. So I chose to go down that single mother path.
And challenging it is, and brave it is. And may I ask, how old is your baby now, Louisa?
Oh, my baby's double digits. He turned 10 a couple of weeks ago. I know. It's been a decade.
My God. It's been a decade. Well, good for you. And I'm glad you're telling your story. And I appreciate the ins and outs of the relationship. It's a little bit like Cali's story, except yours is it's really you, because you're in, and he says, well, Don was going to leave his wife and he was only moving back for 6 weeks. And then you get Cali, 3:00 in the morning. Truth. She gets a phone call and it's Don's wife. It's like, who in the heck are you? You want to tell me what's been going on the past year? My God, you can't make this shit up. You really can't.
No, and I had to tame all that down as well, because there's some things you just can't write in a book.
Well, I will tell you, Cali doesn't have that same rule for her novel because she wrote them all. She just made it fiction. She writes them all. The book is, I have to disclaimer, Tales of the Countess is an adult read. It is an X-rated read. There are words in there you might say to your closest friends or maybe in a bar after too many bottles of bubbly, but you wouldn't say it in a business meeting or to somebody you're going to have a business meeting with them anytime soon in your lifetime, unless you know them really well, who could be your boss or the guy who hired you, who you find out is going to be your buddy because he's not interested in you because he goes the other way. I think I got that all in there.
Yep. Well done. Yep.
Thank you very much. I read a lot. So let's go around the table, ladies. I want to go back to my theme of cool conversations with creatives. Let's talk a little about creativity. Sandra, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the highlights of your book. I have some notes here. We'll spend about 4 minutes going around the table. I want to make sure the audience gets a lot of variety here. But what does creativity mean to you, Sandra? Do you wake up and you say, I'm a creative person because of look at all the things I've done in my life and I wrote a book and it's an award-winning bestseller. What does creativity mean to you, Sandra?
Creativity means to me, Red, do something that makes you happy, that inspires you, that it's an internal flame for me. And I have discovered creativity in so many different areas that I never thought I will be creative. And, whether it was cooking or with my book, like my stories, and you alluded a little bit about my story. I never thought that I could take my stories and relate them to cybersecurity. Like when I was 14 and I had my first kiss, and if you remember that, my story of my first kiss was very traumatic. And I really, really like this boy, and his name was Julius. But my mom, she got pregnant when she was a teenager, and of course, boys were not allowed in my life. My mom was like, no.
No.
So I get to kiss Julius, and I just ran to my home. I was searching for my diary, and I had a diary, and it was small, and I just put my feelings and my thoughts, and that diary had a key, and I thought that my secrets were safe, that nobody could read that because I was carrying that key on my chest all the time. Well, the next day I come from school and I open the door, and there's my mom, and next to her it's my diary wide open.
Oh, no.
So I learned at 14, like, okay, we can lose our information. And so creativity, going back to your question, when I started to, work on the book, I was like, what did I lose? How it affected me? And it's making those connections and making those stories. And now I know that, I will always remember my first kiss, because it ties so much with the work I'm doing. And
Sandra, that was beautiful. I never expected that. And you tied it in so nicely to what the other ladies are talking about. Very well done. Very, very well done. Thank you. And we're going to go over some of the tips from your book in a couple minutes. Cali, creativity. You live with creativity. You wake up and you say, I think I'll write a novel today. I think I'll design some talking persons. I think I'll channel Toy Story, and I'll bring up Sarah Jessica Parker, and and I'll get the clothes and the handbags and the fancy hotels and all that. What does creativity mean to you? Are you born with it? Did you learn it? Cali Bird, talk to me.
Both. From an artistic point of view, because I blog about creativity, and this is my personal view. I say, I'm doing it through the medium of writing, but it could be anything: painting, photography, all the areas of the arts. I say, for me, it's expressing my truth. So, that Story Tells the Countess very much came out of my own life from 20 years ago. I was in investment banking, and I was jet setting everywhere, and some of those shenanigans, well, they might have come from real life. Obviously it's fiction. My mom might be watching. Mom, it's fiction. No.
She's hiding behind the fiction, the F word. Excuse me. Okay, Cali, we'll let you go with that. That's fine. You're safe here.
So I just have this desire to just get these stories out and speak through my writing. So from an artistic point of view, I say it's expressing your truth. But I've learned over the years, creativity is so much wider than that. My day job for most of the last 20 odd years has been in software development. I've got accountancy training. I've fallen into a niche of software testing. And you have to be creative in those industries. I mean, Sandra, you know this. You're in technology.
Definitely.
When you're sort of working in an organization and the system breaks, and you've got to fix it, and you've got to figure out what's going on, and think, gosh, how are we going to do this? You have to be really creative. When I'm writing user manuals of how to do this, you have to be creative. And when I test stuff and I think, this is so complicated, how am I going to write a script where someone else can pick this up and see if the software works? And that's creative. So over the years, I've learned that creativity is so much more than writing a novel or painting a picture or making jewelry, whatever it is you want to do. It's what we all do in life. Life is creative. We solve problems. We do stuff for ourselves and other people.
Cali, I have to tell you, you're preaching to this choir. I am considered an early woman in tech. You don't know that about me, but I was coding in COBOL on an Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 back in the 70s for a mainframe statewide information system in the state of Oregon. And then I was coding on an IBM 4341 in PL1 language. And I had major coding jobs for different companies over the years. And I was recently invited on March 8th, International Women's Day, to be the kickoff speaker for the organization called Women in Big Data. And I was their kickoff speaker for their event as an early woman in tech. And I had pictures of what a key punch machine looked like and what a green bar paper. And I have my silver COBOL handbook. And I had pictures of the core dump from the programs that I wrote, and taking notes in pencil on a piece of paper from a consultant in another part of the state telling me how to design the programs they needed. One line across, line on the side, 5 columns this way, 5 rows this way.
Yep.
And here were the headers. And he'd say, go code it, make it happen. We need it by Thursday. And it was Wednesday. And I did it. Thousands and thousands of lines of code, all handwritten and then key punched. Sandra, I actually had to sit at a machine.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I come from that era. So what I wanted to say was, Cali, when I started I have a degree in psychology, but I didn't do anything with it. I was a programmer analyst, called himself program analyst. And it was management information systems. It was MIS in those days. It wasn't IT.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first couple of times I ran a program and it worked. I jumped up, like I used to say in the
It's really
Toyota
satisfying,
commercial,
isn't it?
Eureka. And I said, I created it. And my theory about programming is that you start with a blank page, tabula rasa, like some people think our brains are an empty, clean slate, right? When you're born. Well, you start with a page and somebody says, okay, design this report. And you say, well, how do I, well, I have the tools. I have the language, COBOL, PL1 assembler, whatever it is you're coding in. And I have my brain and I have the idea of where I need to take it, the plot, if you will, of how to get to the report, which is the goal of the story, if you will. And then you get to design it as only you can because it's your program. So I always felt that people say, oh, I'm not good in math. I could be a programmer. I could never be I'm not good in math. Well, that has nothing to do with it. It has to do with a logical mind going from point A to point B and getting there, following certain rules and making sure that the outcome is the outcome that people needed, which in your case would be a story that intrigues people along the way and gives them some kind of pleasure or joy or a relief, a respite from the real world and a couple of laughs along the way. So thank you for letting me rattle on, but you brought back such memories, Cali. Early woman in tech here and proud of it, by the way.
Good for you. Good for
Thank
you.
you. Well, it's been quite a ride, I'll tell you. And I was always too shy to even talk in class. And here I am broadcasting all over the world. So who knows? Thank you. Louisa, what does creativity mean to you, dear? And you certainly had to be creative throughout your life getting to where you are. So I'm going to put you on speaker view. Talk to us. What does it mean?
Yeah, look, for me, creativity is living your biggest and best life. I guess one of my biggest fears is living Groundhog Day, and certainly all of us here haven't done that, so that's good to see. But I have this mantra. It's like I just want to either create or embrace exciting and rewarding life experiences, and so it's just finding those opportunities. And for me, look, I've travelled, I've had a great career, and I guess there's a lot of I'm an engineer, so there's a lot of logical brains in this room at the moment. But yes, but we're all creative.
Too. Wow.
Yes, but we're expanding on our creative side, which is absolutely fantastic. And so we're using both sides of our brain. But for me, it really is taking advantage of opportunities. I try and travel, try different foods, try different culture. It's just living a creative life and the biggest and best life possible.
I am so impressed with the three of you, and you're right. There is a lot of brain power in this room. I'm impressed with all of you. You all have serious day jobs. You're all doing work in addition to what you write. In addition to your writing, you all have a serious career. I was going to go to the famous birthdays and the national holidays, but I don't want to do that yet because I'm enjoying this part of the show so much. Sandra, why don't you give us some of the tips from your book, Happily Ever Cyber? I'd love to share those. And I have a bunch of what I copied down for you. I copied Sandra's notes here. Let's see. Well, you had a forward by Dan Tyson from Apollo Information Systems. And he said there were 2 rules when he wrote the forward to your book. Nothing is free on the internet, and people are not as skeptical on the internet as they are in real life. And this can get them into trouble. So with that, why don't you talk to us some of the odds of getting hacked? You talk about the number of kids who have identity theft experiences, victimized. Sandra, in your own words, why don't you tell us, spend about 3 minutes and give us some tips from your book, please. I'd love to share that with my audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say that the best that worked for me, being a victim of identity theft too, Red, as someone that has been in the industry, you don't expect that you're going to go through that. So I went through that. And what I realized when I went back and relive the steps I was taking, the word that came for me is distraction. That's the biggest reason why cybercrime and identity theft and all these things happen. Now, my story, I was taking off from a plane by Homeland Security officers because someone in China was smuggling women into the US using my identity. So I spent 6 years through that nightmare. And mental health, depression, and all fears, and all these different feelings that you have on top of losing your information. Yeah. So one thing that I'm very passionate about today is to talk about this distraction. And when we are, and as I was distracted, I wasn't really paying attention. And what Dave talks about, the skepticism or the questions that you ask when someone with authority asks you for your passport, or someone with authority, or in a phone call, they tell you they are the IRS, or they are the Social Security, or they are a lawyer. We tend to, believe that. Mm-hmm. And in so many cases, give out our information without asking. Why are you asking me? Is it really you? How do I know you are really you? And I think that's the muscle, and that's the message I want to bring, because when we stop distractions and we are present and we're mindful and we are really where we are when we use technology, the chances of getting someone to scam us or to trick us are so much smaller. So, but one of the biggest tricks, or the biggest tips that I can give your audience, Red, is anytime you are using your technology, just spend 3 seconds breathing. It's free. You don't have to upgrade breathing. You don't have to change it. It never expires. Breathe before taking an action, before you do a post in social media about your personal information. I'm on vacation, my house is empty. Or before you click on an email that sends you an email, a link or an attachment or anything, just spend 3 seconds, breathe, and ask yourself, do you really trust that information? Is it real? Can you validate that it's coming from a valid source?
Thank you very much. And often, Sandra, we don't know if it's a valid source. So sometimes we have to say, is it worth it to me to take that chance, right? Is it worth the risk? Let me just read a couple of statistics. In Sandra's book, she said, the chances of getting attacked by a shark are 1 in 11.5 million. Yes. The chances of getting struck by lightning are 1 in 1 million. Chances of getting a hole-in-one for the average golfer on a golf course is 1 in 12,000. The chances of getting killed by a falling coconut, okay, I'm sure there's some drinks in there. Somebody's going to say, wait, it fell out of my glass. The chances are 1 in 50.7 million odds. The chances of finding a pearl in an oyster are 1 in 12,000, the same as getting a hole-in-one. That's interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the odds for Americans to become a victim of cybercrime and identity theft are 1 in 4. Just let that, 1 in 4. There is a cyber attack every 39 seconds. A ransomware attack, which we all know happened to the major pipeline here in the US a couple weeks ago, occurs every 14 seconds. The prediction for ransomware impact cost is $20 billion around the world. 43% of data breaches happen to small businesses. 60% are out of business 6 months later. On top of the pandemic, that's deadly. Yeah. Every minute, cybercrime costs $2.9 million to the global economy. And I'll just do one more. The U.S. is number 8. Oh, whoopee. Number 8 among the top countries affected by robocalls or scam calls, with a total of 54 billion calls placed. The number 1 country, can you guess, Louisa or Cali, can you guess the number 1 country? If the U.S. is number 8, what's the country that has the highest incidence of robocalls or scam calls? Cali, Louisa, any guesses?
Maybe Canada?
Nope, not even close. I don't know what the list is, but they're not number 1. Cali, any guess?
We get a lot in the UK. I can't think of bigger than Russia. I don't know.
Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that
Brazil.
makes sense.
Interesting.
Sort of a highly populated country, sort of.
And nearly 1 in 5 people lost money due to imposter scams. Sandra, I recently interviewed Chris Hadnagy on a couple of my shows, who is the author of a book and has a company on social engineering, aka human hacking. It's called. That's interestingly enough, the shows were not very popular. We didn't get a lot of watchers, viewers, or listeners. I think social engineering threw people off. Maybe they thought it was etiquette, but if I would have said human hacking, they would have. And the point is that he is hired with his team in real life, Sandra, to infiltrate a highly secure U.S. I just say a highly secured secret U.S. location secured by the
Mhm.
government. And he and his colleagues do everything, including calling up and saying, we're coming to check a gas leak, to going into a gully in a car and knowing exactly when the guards are walking against the electric fence and when the dogs are going to be brought out to secure that fence, and being able to scale the fence, get into the compound, and open doors with passwords they got over the phone just by pretending to be somebody else. That is called human hacking. Callie, are
Yeah.
you shocked? Shocked.
Yes, and
They
you just
were,
want to
yes,
hide from the internet, don't you,
they
and
were
change all your
hired
passwords.
to infiltrate and prove that the system was not even close to
Yeah.
impregnable. Excuse the term, Louisa. We'll get to you in a minute.
Wow.
So it was a wow. And his book, Callie, interestingly enough, Chris Hadnagy's book, reads like a thriller novel. And we parked a half a mile away, and the lights were coming, and the dogs were walking, and the fence was there, and there was nobody around. We were in the secret place, and we wondered where we going to get attacked. And we went over the fence, and what a way to. He writes it like a damn thriller novel. And it's about social engineering, human hacking. And we have it. I watch MI5 called Spooks here in the United States. I'm on season 9. They keep killing off all their agents. I've cried too many times. The actors keep leaving. Great show. I think I'll go do something else in my career. Time for Shakespeare again. Stop leaving the damn show. I loved all of you. Anyway, the point is that they walk in with a uniform. And this was to your point, Sandra. Oh, hi, I'm Bob, and we're checking to see if that boiler you had a
Mhm.
problem with last month is going to act up again, because we know you're having some special business. People let them in all the
Yeah.
time in Thames House, in Parliament. They let them in. A uniform, name on the badge. Sure, you can come in and check. They don't ask for badge. Okay, it looks good to me. Anyway, shocking. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for the tips. Thank you for letting me read some of the information from your book. Somebody just got a message.
Absolutely.
Cali Bird, I want to talk to you. Now, I want you to talk a little bit about your book. Your language is a little bit over the top for my show. But Callie, I have a very personal question for you. Don't be offended. Are you a plotter or a pantser when you write? Do you know what those are?
I do, and
Yeah, she's British. She knows. Go ahead.
I'm a pants. I started off as a pantster. I'm probably hybrid now. So for people who don't know what we're talking about, pantster. Some people write novels, just they have a seed of an idea and they just write, and they have no idea what's going to happen, and they're finding out as they're typing away, working on a book, and they're finding the story as they write, and that's called pantsing because you're doing it by the seat of your pants.
Right.
And plotting is where you write an outline. You think, and you sort of sketch it out on paper first. You might have a chapter outline. You're making sure all stories have certain sort of arcs and sort of moments that you need in the story to make it satisfying. And so they're sort of planning ahead. Have I got all these elements? Does it make sense? So I start off as a pantser. So Tales of the Countess was pantsed as I learnt to write, basically, because it took me quite a few years to write it because I was learning as I went, and I was a few years in, and I realized there was a lot more about novel writing than I actually knew, and I had to keep learning and write something else and come back to it. And on the sequel, so what I do now, I pantsed a bit and I write notes and I wrote journals as some of the characters. I kind of see what I've got, and then I did go through a process of plotting it. And it's a gentleman called John Truby, a 22-step story structure. I went on one of his courses many years ago, and you work through his book, and you start off with a premise, and if you do the exercises in every chapter, you come out with a scene list. So I'm a bit I'm a slow writer. I don't sort of get them out as quick as Armando does. This is a layered process for me. So I start off pantsing, see what I've got, then I plot an outline, and then I write to that, and it still meanders a bit. And you still, what I've been writing this week, I had a hole in my first draft, and I've been filling that hole. And interestingly, about having babies, what that does to your career, how juggling both. If you want to be high level in corporate life, how's that go with having babies? The conundrums that we all go through. And then you have to trust that that is going to tie in later. So that there's a Panston element there, because I've got my plan, and I'm hoping this added flavor to a basic outline is going to tie up nicely, and you have to just trust. There's an expression I've heard recently called trust emergence. So you have a hunch as you write, and you just go with it, and you have to trust that, in 6 weeks' time, when I'm, further along on this story, that the hunch is going to wrap up and it's all going to tie in.
It'll come to you. Very, very interesting. My book starts out with, it was not a dark and stormy night, because the Homeowners Association specifically wrote in their 145-page manual, it was prohibited.
Good opener.
I'm not kidding you. That's where mine's going, and it's there's a lot of stuff in there. I'm already picking a pseudonym because I cannot be known as the author of this book, because it'll be too damn obvious. Cali, I have a question for you before I get to Louisa. Louisa, we're going to talk in depth about your book in a minute. Ladies, I'm so very much enjoying speaking to the three of you. You're just delightful. You're so smart. You're all so savvy. You're all just in the moment with me, and I appreciate you very, very much. So, and I'm glad we're doing the show today. No disrespect for Memorial Day, but the show does go on. Cali, when did you decide to use naughty language in your book, lady? That's what I want to know.
Well, from the beginning, to be honest. I mean, we did have an off-air conversation with how one of my bags got its name, and you'll have to look on my blog for that if you're really curious, because we're keeping it clean. So, I mean, yeah, I swear, I use language sometimes, not all the time, but I'm not. That's who I am. So when it came to writing, that's my voice. That's the character. That's the Countess. She's a work hard, play hard girl.
Yep.
So there's a couple of naughty words. I always say to people, because it's, it is talking handbags. So I say, it's not children's book. It's not 50 Shades of Grey either. I mean, when we say it's adult content, it's not adult in that sense. No. It's, just somewhere in the middle, just a little bit naughty and suggestive.
I just use the word naughty language because I just say nasty. Language is X-rated and it's repeated over and over again. And it's not the F-bomb we're talking about. It's other words. But I'm intrigued that the handbags become the parental guidance for the Countess. Should you be drinking that much? Should you have gone to talk to that man? Did she really? And they talk to each other. They confer, like her own little club of guidance. And I call the super ego, the parental part that says, no, shouldn't go there. Keep your mouth shut. Keep walking. Yeah, those are the handbags. Very interesting. Thank you, Louisa. Let's talk to you about all the stories you decided to put in your memoir. It's long. It's more than well over 200 pages, and you just let it all in there. So why don't you talk to us about your creative decision? It's a memoir, but you had to make the decisions. How many stories, how many chapters, how many life plans, what people, are all the men's names changed to protect the guilty?
Yes, I had to change them all.
Okay. All right. Talk to us about your decisions. Go ahead.
It was actually a creative process in deciding what to rename them. So that in itself became quite a fun task between me and my girlfriends to say, all right, now what should we call this one and why? And so we've got this innuendo and the secrets behind the scene, I guess, as to why different ones are called different things. So that was a creative aspect in itself. It was interesting, Cali, listening to you and listening to your process in writing, because I guess I'm very similar, but I like this trust emergence that you mentioned, because I guess I used that without realizing it had a term. And so when I decided to write my memoir, being an engineer, I'm very process driven, right? So you've got this fine balance between the engineering left brain and the creative right brain, and trying to make sure it actually comes across as fun and enjoyable and conversational. At the same time, I've got all these processes and layers. And so I'd done quite a lot of research in regards to the length of a book that I needed to have that would satisfy the requirements to be listed on different platforms for sale, but also not being too long that someone who didn't read would be persuaded not to buy it. So I actually ended up having to cut quite a lot out. And it's interesting seeing some of the reviews, because some of the reviews were, I wish you'd gone into more detail with some of the stories. Ooh. But then other reviews I've got is that you've done it perfectly and it's just the right amount. And I did cull to meet a 60,000 word limit purely because I wanted to reach people that don't normally read. So my story is for women that of all different ages, effectively, who are struggling with, finding the one, or this happily ever after notion, and or single amongst all their friends who are couples, and just struggling with not actually getting their life plan as I define in the book. And so I wanted to reach people, women particularly, who may not necessarily pick up a book. So I didn't want something that was a really fat bind, if you like. But I wanted to make sure I ticked that box of the 60,000 words, I guess. So and the process is in there. And I guess I used the hero's journey. So there's actually quite a lot of layers in how I wrote my memoir. So I loved how it ended up at the end, and the conversational tone. But I did actually spend a lot more time in the story development and the I guess all my duds, as I call them in the book, going through all my duds to really set the scene before then going on that journey to single motherhood. And so, yeah, look, and I also had a fine line between, how many do I put in there? How many, it's like, all right, I may have a few more than that, but let's just call it a dozen, because that's palatable. so we'll say, all right, we'll put those in there, and look, they're the most memorable ones. So, yeah.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. Something in your book, in your story, Louisa, reminded me of, I've written 3 plays that I actually produced with community actors and actresses. Well, people call them actors today. It doesn't matter what your gender is, the acting profession, they're actors. In New York, when I was living on Long Island, for my TV show. My TV show is called Something to Talk About. And we produced them with a green screen and a lot of digitized, superimposed virtual backgrounds, if you will. And a couple meet on the internet just before the turn of the millennium, before Y2K. And it's interesting. And I believe in one of my scenes, I think that was the play. There were 3 of them. It was several years ago, but I think in one of them, and by the way, I wrote those plays, which were produced to be able to be condensed down into 29 minutes, even with a couple of scenes for a 30-minute TV show. And what was I going to say? Something in mind, one of the pressures was the woman hadn't gotten married, and her mother had bought a pink hat, and my mom had a pink hat. So, what are you getting married again? Because I divorced early. And the pressure was, I have the pink hat, when's the wedding? It wasn't I already had kids. It wasn't when are you going to have children, but that pressure. And you talk about, you do get into some serious stuff, Louise, in your book. You talk about being groomed by the happily ever after, and the bad character is always the evil stepmother, is always a woman, is always Cruella, welcome, fashion or not. So I found that very interesting. You've got some very serious parts about being groomed for, yes, you're supposed to, will you, why aren't you, what's wrong with you? And men get the same pressure, right? Well, where's the special girl? I want grandchildren. Hello. Not always ain't going to happen these days. So thank you. I didn't even think, while you're speaking, I'm thinking there is a creative process to writing a memoir. How much do I put in? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. By the way, question for all 3 of you. Are you self-published, or did you wait for a publisher to come and grab you up with $1 million contract? Sandra,
I'm self-published.
You're self-published. Sandra, how about you?
I am self-published too.
And Cali?
Yes, I'm self-published. Many years ago, I did tout it on literary agents. This was like early noughties. But when it came to this time to publish, I just went straight to self-publishing. So the landscape's changed, and I wanted that. It's about control. I want to control my characters.
I was curious because I've done some on one of my business shows, the future technology revolution, the future of now. I did one on the future of self-publishing. And I thought it was very interesting, the idea of control. And I've also heard that unless you're Oprah or Reese Witherspoon or Matthew McConaughey or Jake Tapper, you're not getting a big time publisher to hand you $1 million advance and do your whole marketing campaign and do your book tour. You're going to do it all anyway, and you ain't getting $1 million. So, right. So that is, it used to be something, she couldn't get a publisher. Well, it's not that way anymore. It's a choice,
no, it's
right?
Not. It is.
I went straight to self-publishing this time. Yeah.
It's a choice. Very interesting. Well, I'll have to tap your brain when we get to that point. Ladies, the time is flying. What I'd like to do is go through my famous people's birthdays, see if you all know any of these. One actor passed away in 1993, which is eons ago. It's Don Amici, but there's always there's a little joke. You know the knock knock jokes? Don Amici
Mhm.
was a very well-known actor. You're all way too young to remember him, but the joke is, knock knock, who's there? Don Amici. Don Amici. I'll be Don Amici in a taxi, honey. And that was an old song. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gone there. All right, lovely lanky Laura Legs will remember that. I'm going in reverse age. The oldest first. Clint Eastwood, composer. I didn't know. Actor, director, script writer, famous all-around bad guy. Happy birthday! Anybody know how old Clint Eastwood is?
Oh, he's 80
It's
something.
probably 80
Oh,
something.
oh, 91.
90.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Clint is 91.
91.
Oh, wow.
Does
Wow,
anybody
91.
remember Peter, Paul, and Mary? Okay.
Yes.
Peter Yarrow, he's the Peter in Peter, Paul, and Mary, the folk singing group. He's 83 today. Happy
Wow.
birthday, Peter. Sharon Gless, does anybody remember Cagney and Lacey?
Yes.
Yes.
The
Yes.
female detective show. Tyne Daly was Cagney, and I believe Lacey was Sharon Gless. She's 78 today. It's a very respectable age.
Birthday.
And her birthday brother, even though they probably don't even know each other, Joe Namath, the Hall of Football famer, is 78. Broadway Joe, they used to call him. Yes. Chris Elliott, the actor who I always find very, very annoying, is 61. Happy birthday, Chris Elliott. He just plays terrible characters and he probably loves it. Leah Thompson, lovely actress, 60. Brooke Shields. Everybody knows Brooke Shields.
Wow. How old
Right?
is Brooke Shields?
Brooke Shields is 56 years old.
Huh.
Wow.
She's sticking around. She's lasting.
Yes.
Yeah. One of my favorite actresses who I haven't seen on TV in years is Archie Panjabi, and the name might not be familiar. She's 49. She was the investigator Kalinda Sharma on The Good Wife.
Oh, yeah, I remember her. I love her.
Woman of Indian descent. She was always so Kalinda's kind of
Yes.
sneaking into places and sneaking
Yeah.
out. She I think she was in a genre of modern investigational women in that role. And when they moved the show to The Good Fight, the sequel, I'm paying money every month for CBS On Demand, and The Good Fight did about 8 episodes last year, and then the pandemic, they haven't come back, and I'm still paying money for CBS On.
Oh.
I need to stop that anyway. CBS, I'm going to call you later. Bye. Anyway, she was on that show, and they replaced her with somebody, and I think Nyambi, a different actor, he was on The King of Queens. He is now a serious investigator in that same vein. Colin Farrell, everybody knows Colin Farrell, 45. He played Percival Graves in Harry Potter spinoff Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in 2016. How about anybody watch NCIS Los Angeles? I don't. I watched the original with Mark Harmon. Anybody watch the Los Angeles version?
Oh, that
Okay.
one.
Well, the guy with the blonde hair, whose hair is messy all over his face, it's Marty Deeks is the character. Eric Christian Olsen is 44. He needs a haircut. We're going to take up a GoFundMe. I'm sorry. And because I'm a drummer, I found a famous drummer who I've never heard of, but he's famous to a lot of people. The drummer in Fall Out Boy, Andy Hurley, is 41. So from one drummer to the other, happy birthday, Andy Hurley. Now let's do some, you ladies, can you stick around a little while longer? We have about 10 minutes left.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. What can I say?
Great.
Okay, no time slot today. Let's do some famous holidays that are not famous at all. Today, Monday, May 31st, we know it's Memorial Day in the US. Again, shout out and memories to all the people who defended our right to do this show. We wouldn't be here if I didn't have the freedom, right, Callie? Well, you're not in the US, but I wouldn't have the freedom to read your book and talk about it if I didn't have that freedom. So there.
Likewise.
It's National Autonomous Vehicle Day. I don't know if anybody's still driving
Does
their
that
own
mean
car.
like driverless cars then?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Well,
autonomous
that's the
vehicle.
future, isn't it? They're going to
Well,
come,
it's
aren't
not
they?
that far away. It's being tested, and they are not running off the road. They're not being hacked yet a lot, but they are coming. It's Macaroon Day. Who likes macaroons? Coconut.
Very nice.
Yay. I have a recipe. You can make little chocolate macaroons with plain cocoa in them, not with sugar, in the toaster oven, and they are phenomenal.
Oh,
Very
wow.
easy recipe. I'll find it if you want it, ladies. It's National Smile Day. Everybody smile. Okay. And don't play any loud music. It's National Save Your Hearing Day. I don't know
Oh,
where
that's
that
very
comes from.
sensible.
And here's another sensible one, World No Tobacco Day.
Yes.
I have to tell you, I was someplace, I went to a mall the other day. I did have my mask on still, and I'd say 80% of the people in the mall had their masks on.
Good.
They did. And a lot of them had little kids with them, and the kids had masks on. But I was going to the car outside the mall. I just need to have, there's no shoe repairs where I live in Durham, North Carolina. You have to drive a half hour. And the guy's charging me more for a pair of heels on my little drummer boots, more for a pair of heels than I paid for the shoes in the first place, the boots. I swear, $20 a pair for heels. I brought in 3 pairs of boots. It's $60 to get my shoes back next week. I never in my life would I pay that much for heels. But he said, hey, couldn't find anybody. Looked high and low. He's the only one around. I had to drive a half hour. I gave him them. Anyway, the bottom line is when I left the mall, somebody was lighting up a cigarette outside in the parking lot. And the smell went across. He wasn't that far from me, under my mask, up my nose. And I said, I have not smelled cigarettes in years. I don't know if any of you are smokers. I hope I'm not offending anybody.
I did.
You
Ex-smoker.
did.
I was always sort of part-time smoker.
Part-time. Well, this just, I stepped back. Luckily, there wasn't a car behind me. I stepped back. I said, wow, what is that? It just literally penetrated right under the mask, went right up my nose. And I said, I do not even remember the smell of cigarettes. I'm just not around people who, it was just an interesting experience. So it's World No Tobacco Day today. So wherever you were, put out your cigarette. Okay, tomorrow these are U.S. national holidays, Cali. So I don't know what they're doing where you are in London and Louisa.
Well, we're
and
on
Austria.
holiday. It's a holiday for us today, but it's not linked to Memorial Day like it
What
is
is it?
in the US. Well, it's just Spring Bank Holiday. The last Monday in May is
Okay.
always a bank holiday, a day off work, and the kids are out of school this week
Okay.
for
Well,
a week.
there you go. Happy holiday to you. Tomorrow, where are we? June.
No.
I'm sorry, I had the wrong. Yes, I had the right ones. June 1st. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I'm so excited. It's National Dare Day. You going to dare anybody to do anything, Sandra?
Yes, I dare everyone to change their password and
No.
use a phrase that has
great idea.
meaning for you.
You are good.
So-
I do that. But on some of them I have to
Yes.
use a capital letter. Sometimes I have to use a special character. Sometimes I
Yes.
need one number. So they're all, so I can't remember automatically. I have to remember. It's National Flip a Coin Day. So you could say flip a coin, what password I pick, right? We could do that.
Yes.
It's also Go Barefoot Day. So while you're changing your password and flipping a coin, take your shoes off. Okay.
Yes.
And while you're doing that, it's National Hazelnut Cake Day. I used to make a hazelnut torte that was really, really good. I haven't made it in
Wow.
years. But while you're doing that, you have to look good. So it's National Nail Polish Day. Everybody getting the
Oh.
story I'm building here? And then you're going to have somebody ask you what you're doing. Instead of telling them mind their own blanket business, you're going to say something nice day, because it's Say Something Nice Day. But if you
Yes.
don't want to be nice, you're going to say today is Oscar the Grouch Day. So Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street, you can do that. And then you're going to write to somebody who's not near you, because it's Pen Pal Day. I think I think email qualifies as Pen Pal. It's also, ladies, I hate to tell you this, but it's Wear a Dress Day. This is all on Tuesday. And it's
It's a
World
busy
Milk
day.
Day. It's a busy day. So you're going to have a dare. You're going to flip a coin. You're going to go barefoot. You're going to eat hazelnut cake. You're going to put nail polish on or show off what you have. You're going to say something nice. You're going to remember Archie the Art. You're going to write a pen pal or email to somebody or a secret text or something. Wear a dress and World Milk Day. Drink up. That's the busiest holiday I've seen on the national calendar.
I'm exhausted.
It
I
is
better get to
exhausting.
bed now.
It's exhausting.
Get
Now
ready.
it gets, as the week goes on, it's fewer and fewer. So Wednesday, June 2nd is Global Running Day. You can run to get rid of the hazelnut cake.
yeah.
That's it.
On the
It's,
cake.
it's also National Leave the Office Early Day to go
Very
running.
good.
And when you go home, it's Rotisserie Chicken Day. So pick up that chicken at Costco and you can go running, leave the office early to pick it. See, I'd like to link these. Are you all celebrating? Leave the office early, go running, and rotisserie. I find rotisserie chicken a little dry, but I break it apart and I dip it in ketchup. And anybody eat ketchup where you are? Anybody?
Tomato sauce.
Yeah, we call it tomato sauce.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Well, it's got all kinds of stuff in it, loaded with sugar.
Ketchup.
Sandra, do you, in your background, tomato sauce, is that part of your culture?
Not so much. We Venezuela is not big on spices. Yeah, not so
Okay.
much.
All right. Well, then I think you'll like Thursday. This is my day. National Egg Day. I try to eat an egg, 1.5 eggs. I have my partner is here for lunch, and we have an omelet made with 3 eggs, a little bit of sprinkled Colby Jack cheese, and we'll grill a little whole grain bread. And once in a while, some crisp bacon, but not often. I'm lying. It's every day. Okay, National Egg Day. It's National Moonshine Day. Already remembered for New Year's Eve. Go make your moonshine. That's illegal booze in the bathtub. It's Repeat Day. Dare I repeat myself? Dare I repeat myself? It's a copy machine day. It's World Bicycle Day. Get on that bike. And it's World Cider Day. Okay, I think I left that from last week. I don't know. Anyway, Friday is National Cheese Day, Donut Day. And while you're having a donut with cheese, hug your cat. Oh, does anybody have cats?
Yes, I
Not
have a
at the
cat and
moment.
it's meowing in the background. So hopefully you can't hear.
We can't hear, but bring your cat. That's fine. Bring your cat to Radio Day. Saturday is National Prairie Day. I don't know where to find a prairie, and it's World Environment Day. So find a prairie and thank the world for our environment and do something about it. I'm still separating garbage. It's every other week here. You have to check the calendar to see when's a trash day and when's a trash and recycle day. And they give you, we have to keep our garbage cans in our garage, and they come along with a truck that has an automatic mechanism that picks it up, lifts it in the air, and then dumps it out. Well, they completely smashed one of my garbage cans 2 years ago. Completely smashed it to bits. They threw it on the ground in the driveway, part of the side tore off, the cover ripped off. It was a mess. So I called and they said, leave it out and somebody will pick it up and send a replacement. So I left it out in front, and a nosy neighbor went by and called the city and called the HOA here and complained that I had a garbage can out on a non-garbage day. So I was given a warning. So
Oh my
I
goodness.
printed out a
Naughty
big,
girl.
I know, I printed out a big sign and it said, out for collection, broken, needs repair. Do not touch, do not call the HOA. It's here for a reason. So I did that on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday. On Friday, I brought it in. I called the city again. They said, well, somebody will be there next week. Leave it out. I said, are you kidding? I'm getting complaints from the neighbors. I'm getting reported to the HOA. And people would walk by. I watched them from my office window and they said, oh, somebody's got a sign on this. Go, well, do you think that excuses it? I don't know. I think we should report them. Yeah. Oh, it was a big debate. It was really horrible. And
Wow.
finally they picked it up and they brought me a new one. And you have to keep it in your garage. So all your stinky garbage is in your, you can't leave it on the side of the house. Has to stay in the garage until that day. And you got 24 hours to bring it back. Never mind. I can't tell you. Anyway, so Sunday, June 6th is National D-Day. We all know what D-Day is, a day in infamy. It's eyewear day. I do need an appointment with the eye doctor. It's been 2 years. Thank you very much. I can still see well enough, but it's time. It's gardening exercise day. My garden's on my windowsill, so I reach over the sink. No, I have a greenhouse too. And it's yo-yo day. Anybody remember what a yo-yo is?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Does anybody have one?
Not anymore. But I had them
Not
as a
anymore,
kid.
but I
Well,
used to play.
You got to get one for Sunday, June 6th. It's yo-yo day. 7th is next Monday, and it's National Chocolate Ice Cream Day, and it's Prince's birthday. What can I tell you? And Tuesday next
Oh.
week, in case you need to prepare, is National Best Friends Day. So
Oh.
that's all I have for the days. And I hope I've left you ladies with something very interesting. In case you ever dare to have a boring day, you can listen to the show and remember all the holidays. So let's go around the table with some parting words here. We're just about at 8 o'clock Eastern. We could go a few more minutes. It's fine. Let's go around the table. Sandra, any thoughts? Your book is informational. Your book is biographical. It's part memoir. It's part information. Let me ask a foundational question. What made you go into the cybersecurity field? You had a lot of options. You were a sporting woman. You got sports scholarships. You literally lifted yourself up by commitment, by dedication, by focus, by stubbornness, by I'm going to get out of this place I'm living. I'm going to make something for my life and my family. You did it. What made you choose this field of endeavor? Why don't you take about 3 minutes and I'll go around and ask all of you that. Go ahead, Sandra.
Absolutely. I think once my identity was stolen and I didn't get any answers. I was in technology for a long time, but I didn't have that mindset of cybersecurity. I was very curious. And soon as I became a US citizen, an opportunity opened up in that field, Red. And have you ever been like, the light goes on inside your brain? And that's what happened to me when I learned who's behind cybercrime, why they do it, how they do it, and what can you do to protect it. And, that really drove me to obviously work in the field for many years and eventually leave my corporate career and start dedicating myself to find a different way to express how can we protect about cyber safety? How can we do about cyber safety? How can we integrate it? And women, as someone that has been in technology, I always had these confidence issues sometimes because it's a very male dominated field. And I wasn't always very comfortable, even though I was in technology. So with this tool, with my book, my intention is to bring that confidence. If you are not feeling that technology is not for you, or that somebody else has to fix your computer or your information and you're afraid, this is the perfect book to walk you step by step, to give you that confidence, that to put you back in that seat where you are the driver. And that's my goal, to empower women and to make cyber safety a choice. And I put all my stories when I didn't know how to swim and I became a scuba diver. And that I almost killed someone in the process. And, stories that in some cases are not very funny. Others are, my health issues. I mean, everything that I have done in my life that happened for me, prepare me. And that's what I'm very, very excited about sharing the book, about sharing the message. And it's a series. So more books are coming out, and I'm so grateful of all read, because my childhood, as you said, it wasn't easy. Being bullied, being, you know,
Yes.
being in
told
those
you a
places
lesson.
and
Yes.
changing my life. So I'm very grateful and thankful for everything that
And
has
we're
happened.
grateful for you. And I want to send people to Happily Ever Cyber, HappyEverCyber.com for Sandra's book. Callie, let's go to you. What about you? Your choice, original choice of your career and your choice to start writing thriller novels. Callie?
So behind me, I've got a grand piano. So I actually was a music major at university. I came to America, North Texas State University, or University of North Texas now. But as I graduated, my options were to be a schoolroom music teacher or an unemployed flute player. And I just, so I went to the University Careers Service, and they said, become a chartered accountant. That's like a CPA. So anybody at that time graduating, there were engineers, there were all kinds of people who had no idea what to do with their lives, became chartered accountants. And it was true, it was a fantastic business grounding, and you did triple your salary and double your salary in 3 years. So with this artistic background, I went into corporate world, accounting, investment banking, sideways into programming, and finally working on accounting software. I went full circle back to debits and credits. But of course, if you've got that artistic side or creative side, you know, it's an itch you have to scratch from time to time. It will screw you up if you don't. So yeah, I just had to find a way over the last few years, and I've often worked part-time. So I've often worked 3 days a week in the day job, and had time to do creative projects. So I've been a life coach in the past, like, you know, Tales of the Countess. That's been a long-term project on and off over the years. So yeah, just finding a way to do both, because I like having, you know, the technology side pays nicely. I like creature comforts, but I have to do the writing. I have to, you know, this express your truth. I'm really driven to do it, and to keep writing more, you know, sort of follow
Thank
on
you,
stories from
Callie.
this.
Interesting. I want to send people to your website. You have two here. One is Callie, Cali Bird, BIRD. That's CALI BIRD, one word.com. And she also has gentlecreative.com, GENTLECREATIVE.com. Thank you. And Louisa, briefly, what got you into what you do? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing Sandra and Callie's stories. But yeah, for me, look, I was good at maths at school and science, and I actually had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was sent on a Women in Engineers seminar when I was in my last year of school. And it's interesting how it appears men have formed a lot of my life decisions, good and bad. But yeah, they had a whole series of different types of engineers: chemical engineer, environment engineer, civil engineer. And I guess I sat there and went, oh, well, they're pretty boring and they're uninspiring. But the civil engineers seem to be really quite cute and charismatic. So I went, okay, I guess I'll be a civil engineer. and that's as much, I guess, thought process that I put into it. And so I put civil engineering, and I turned up to my first day of university not even knowing what a civil engineer did. And but I got there in the end.
Wow, absolutely fascinating. And your website for people to know more about you is Louisa Pateman, LOUISA PATEMAN.com. Ladies, I'm so intrigued with the three of you. You're all so committed and articulate and savvy and charismatic and charming and interesting. You all have it. You've all got that it factor that makes you so interesting and fun to talk to. I'm allowed to say it's fun to talk to you. I'm allowed to say it because I'm a host. I can say whatever I want. So I want to read a couple of closing messages here that I do every week on the show. If you've listened, you've seen it. And we're going to promote the heck out of this on, I think a lot of people are away for the weekend. We got a small viewership on Facebook, but we'll take care of that. By the way, I had somebody from the summit on recently, and she managed to get 12,000 people to watch the video. So Ladies, your challenge is on. So here we go. Here's my first words to live by. And I looked up my notes from my radio shows in 2014 and I found these and I still like them. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. It's the only way. Love truly, right, Louisa? Love truly, right, Sandra? Right, Cali?
Yes.
Kiss slowly.
Indeed.
Laugh uncontrollably and never regret anything that made you smile. And we're smiling now, so we have no regrets. And here's finally, work like you don't need the money, even if you do. Make it look like you're having fun somehow, because we know the Countess is right, Callie. Dance like nobody's watching. I've taught dance to hundreds of people, and believe me, in that back in the days, and I've been a disco dancer and contest entrant. People were watching. Sing like nobody's listening. I play the drums now. I try not to sing. People like the drums, singing not so much. Love like you've never been hurt, because damn, we all have and nobody cares. So get over it and move on, right, Louisa? Just
Yes.
keep moving. Like Dory says, just keep swimming, 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 swimming. Money talks, chocolate sings. At last but not least, and I borrowed this line from a host I heard on the radio many decades ago. Thank you for turning me on. AkaRadioRed signing off. Ladies, I'm going to put the music on. Why don't we all wave goodbye? Let me find the closing music here. Here we go. Let's see if it bothers to play. I'm hoping. Here we go. I got to turn on my volume here.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks again for tuning in to Read My
The
Lips
voice of
Radio,
Ryan Treasure.
presented by the Voice America Variety Channel. Tweet your questions and comments to @RadioRed777. Join host akaRadioRed again next Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Voice America Variety Channel. We wish you a positively cool, creative week.